Good morning, everybody. You are listening to Senior Moments. I'm Joel Green, along with Curtis Woods on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS. Today, we're talking about some of the issues in aging, specifically handling your legal affairs. What we're talking about is trusts. We're talking about powers of attorney with Gina McDonald, who is an estate planning attorney and elder law specialist. Gina, tell me about powers of attorney. What are some of the differences?
Well, first of all, whenever we talk powers of attorney, again, who do you trust? Because you are giving someone the power to make decisions for you when you can't. And you will see on most powers of attorney, there's a big warning saying, please understand, you sign this document, you're giving someone the same power you have as an individual. Now, we break it up into two different types of powers of attorney. A power of attorney for business management, that means paying my bills, talking to my creditors, picking up my paycheck, all the rest of that stuff. And then we have powers of attorney for health care. Those are individuals that you are giving the power to speak to the doctor when you can't.
Could the person that has a power of attorney for financial affairs and the person that has a power of attorney for health affairs, could they be at odds with each other?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Could somebody say, I know you want to do that, but I don't agree with it?
Yes.
And that's okay?
That's why we have a court system. That's why we have a court system. But again, here we go down to who do you trust? What is the communication level that you have with individuals? Because if you're naming, because a lot of people, they will name one of their children the primary on a healthcare power of attorney who may be in the medical field and everything else, and they can love them to pieces, but they may not be too good with the finances. So then that power of attorney for business management, or sometimes we call it the immediate power of attorney, sometimes we have a springing power of attorney. That means that nobody gets to use this thing until a doctor puts in writing that you are unable to handle your own business affairs. Is another individual, a different individual, who maybe their forte is money, but they don't have that great of a bedside manner. So that's what we spend a lot of time. Remember that meeting when I'm asking for questionnaires? That's what we're talking about. We're saying who are the best candidates, and again, who do you trust?
And so what do we have in place already for this family? What legal documents?
Well, normally, if we don't have to have the trust, but a will is going to take care of where your estate goes, or as you like to say, my stuff. Where that goes at your death, after we pay the creditors, after we pay the funeral expenses. Then, and we have a court that releases that individual from liability once they have done what the document said and the court has approved it. We have powers of attorney for healthcare, powers of attorney for business management. Now, if we have a trust, we're going to have more documents. We're going to have a trustee certification. We're going to have trust transfer deeds. We're going to have more documentation just because you're doing all the work ahead of time before death. Now, something I would really like to bring up is on healthcare powers of attorney. If you have an HMO, let's say Kaiser or Facey, I know seeing an attorney can be very scary, let alone the state of California has put together a statutory healthcare power of attorney that you have to fill in that says who your agents are and everything else, and you can have witnessed by two people, or you can go to the UPS store and have somebody notarize it at the UPS store. You need to ask Kaiser, if you are a Kaiser member, you need to ask them for a power of attorney to fill out. They want that. They have a system that they'll scan that in, and they have a very good scan system for their medical records, and they'll even put on the computer that you have a power of attorney for healthcare. I know Facey now because another client has brought in something that Facey, I guess in some of the waiting rooms has, telling you that here's a power of attorney, you need to fill it in, and they try and explain to you what it is. This is something you need to do at a minimum. Is a power of attorney for healthcare, and it's going to cost you a little bit of time, but it's not going to cost you any money.
Do having these things accomplished prior to needing them, is that a good thing, or should we just wait?
Nope. Well, if you don't want that court proceeding, if you don't want the court proceeding for the conservatorship, the adult guardianship, because you're alive, but you are, as my grandmother would say, 2 cents short of a nickel, then what's happening is we are getting down to taking care of you as quickly as possible. We are not going into a court system, but my caveat is, do you trust these people? Now, and no, just because you do one power of attorney doesn't mean that you can't revoke it and do a different one.
So should, obviously, I'm as old as dirt, but Justin, our board op here, is a young guy. When should he start doing these things?
He should be doing it as soon as you have a child who turns 18. 18 in California, you are an adult. As soon as they turn 18, they need to be doing the powers of attorney. And the reason they need to be doing that is because otherwise we have to go into court. I know you're young, but we have to go into court for that conservatorship.
So some things you can do at an earlier age than maybe other things?
I would strongly recommend, if you're looking at a timeline, when your children turn 18, you need to be looking at them executing a power of attorney for health care and a power of attorney for business management. We don't necessarily have to have a will. We just need to have those documents. As they begin moving forward in their careers and everything else, then we may be looking at a will. Because really, for a lot of people, that'll take care of what needs to be done until we have real property, or until you have personal property that is in excess of $150,000. Because if I've got that will, I can do an affidavit under Probate Code Section 13100. And so
we know what that is.
Right.
No, yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
But what we're looking at is it's like the timelines that are going on. Normally when a family gets, when you start a family, you're going to need to at least have those powers of attorney, will, and a nomination of guardian.
And we're gonna pursue that when we come back. You are listening to Senior Moments on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. We will be right back. Good morning. This is Senior Moments on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. My name is Joel Green, along with Curtis Woods. We're talking about issues in aging, specifically handling your legal affairs, with Gina McDonald, attorney at law, specializing in estate planning and elder law. So, Gina, we've come kind of maybe full circle, and we're kind of talking about what are some of the other things you should do, like maybe pre-planning, final arrangements? I'm
try very hard to talk to my clients about, number one, making sure they put some type of information in their estate plans as to whether they want to be buried or whether they want to be cremated. Then the next thing that I talk to them about is, in that healthcare power, they can put that in, they can put it in their trust document, they can just let somebody know what you want to do. Normally, people who come to see me, they love their kids, and they do not want to put them through anguish. It's bad enough that they've passed. Then for them to have to try and figure out, did mom or dad want to be buried? Did they want to be cremated? What do they want? People are extremely vulnerable during that period of time. You touch your mortality when you decide that you're going to make these plans. And then if you take it the next step and you do a prepaid burial contract, that's even more. You acknowledging that someday you're not going to be here. I've already done that for my girls. And the reason I have is they lost their dad many years ago. I do not want my children to go through what we had to go through when their dad passed away. So for me, I've done a prepaid burial contract. And as a matter of fact, it's with Dignity. And I chose Dignity because no matter where I live, I don't have to worry about living just in the state of California.
That's awesome, and what you're mentioning is so true, and I think it comes a lot better from a person like yourself rather than the actual service provider. They feel that we here at Eternal Valley have an interest in trying to get you to kind of buy from us, but from a person outside of the profession directly, it all makes sense what you're mentioning, and those are the things that we go through. And I can't express how much importance is behind that those healthcare directives and things of that sort you mentioned earlier, not only for the people that you trust, but also if you have multiple children. Let's say some families like to have big families, 5, 6 children, and when they become adults, some might be in Texas and some might be in Montana. And for us to make some of those final decisions, we need everybody's signature, unless they have that document in place where they
Yes.
have a person that has the right
That's
to
the
control.
point person.
That's the point person. That person trumps everybody else on the list because that's the person that you trusted with those healthcare decisions.
And that's part of this whole enchilada of final arrangements.
True.
We thank you, Gina, for addressing some of the legal issues. Coming up on Senior Moments, Issues in Aging. Next, in 2 weeks from now, we're going to have as our guests some doctors from UCLA Medical. It's a show that you don't want to miss. How do people get in touch with you, Gina?
Oh, well, they can either they can read an article that I write every month for the magazine of Santa Clarita Valley.
Or?
They can get me at my office number, which is 661-294-6464. They can also go onto my webpage, which is my name, www.ginamacdonald.com. So the MacDonald is like the farm, not the hamburger.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Join us in 2 weeks for the next edition of Senior Moments. And from the Santa Clarita Valley Senior Resource Alliance, my name is Joel Green.
And I'm Curtis Woods at Eternal Valley with the Santa Clarita Resource Alliance also.